Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I'm Dakota, and I know it's been a while since we've done one of these standard recaps, and I just want to say I've been missing out on these, and I wanted to start doing these more on a week-to-week basis, which we're back. Hey, we are back in the action. There's been a pit in the bottom of my soul from not doing these, and I know that everyone out there has been asking and been wanting. The millions and millions of people wanted us to do another Darkside standard recap. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful partner and co-caster, Eric Lasco. Say hey, Eric.
Hey, it's good to be back. I've missed y'all. Hope everyone's doing well, and I hope you're still playing cool standard decks.
Yeah. So going right into it, we wanted to do a little bit of a breakdown of exactly what is going on with this standard showdown championship league and this recap that we're doing. Since it's mostly been word of mouth that details have been getting around, but here is the official breakdown of what this championship league for standard looks like and the rules. So, looking into this, of course, this is the first season, so there's going to be a little bit of hiccups here and there, but this is season one Bloomburrow of a championship league. Now, these leaderboards and these statistics that we pull up, and you may be asking yourself, how do we get these points? The points are gained by winning games and getting points at Friday Night Magic for standard. And that is that simple. All you have to do is just come out to standard, and you're getting points if you're winning games. And this first season, we decided to do on a set to set basis. So I know that we started a little bit before Bloomburrow, but it's the first season. But it is going to be ending September 20th, where I believe September 27th is the Duskmore pre-release. So September 20th is when the first season will be over. We are cutting it there, and that where the leaderboards are going to stay at that point. And after that is when we're going to have a top eight single elimination head to head. And that is where we're going to get our placements for the prizes for top eight and who is going to come out on top of the season one for Bloomburrow. Now, I know there's a bunch of words on the screen, and I know some of you are not a fan of reading, so I'm going to do the breakdown for you. The top six players are going to be picked from the leaderboard themselves. So after September 20th, the top six players with the most points are going to be cut, and those are going to be automatically into the top eight. Unless they are somehow disqualified, or they don't want to do it, or they don't want to participate, or they are already qualified for another way to get into the top eight, then that will skip over them and go to the next person. Now, for the seventh position, there's going to be a September 7th win-a-box at Friday Night Magic for standard. The format is always going to be standard. It's simply going to be taking the place of the Friday Night Magic event. Nothing is going to be different. It's going to be run exactly the same. The only difference is that the winner of that standard event will be walking home with a Bloomburrow Play Booster box, and that is free to them. And they are also going to get automatic entry into the top eight championship league tournament that's going to be happening at the end of the season. Now, we talked about the first seven people. How is this eighth position going to get into there? So we wanted to throw a little bit of spice. You know, me and Eric are always trying to keep it as crazy as possible. A random person that is not already qualified for a tournament is going to be randomly selected, and all they need is a threshold of 10 points. They need a minimum of 10 points to be able to get it, and they are qualified to be randomly selected. And I know that a lot of these top six players already have each other's number because they've been battling it out over the leaderboard over the course of the season. So this random eight position is just going to be random spice. We throw in a little bit of a crazy feature that me and Eric were thinking of, and we thought it would be crazy just to have a random come in, and maybe this wild card position may even take the tournament. It'll be crazy to see. So what are your thoughts on that, Eric? Just looking at it and going over everything.
Well, part of the nice thing about that wild card is that it's going to make tournament preparation harder, which is going to make our players have to work a little harder if they want to win. Because with these kinds of tournaments that are based on standings in a larger league, you sort of have an idea of who you're going to be facing in advance, so you can sort of think about the kinds of decks they tend to play and prepare for that. But with this eighth player being determined quite literally at random, even though there is a set pool for who will be eligible, um, it's going to mean that you need to be prepared for anything. I think that's going to make the championship tournament, I think it's going to make it much more interesting. And I'm excited to see who qualifies and how that shapes up.
Yeah, so am I. But going really quickly over the prizes, because I mean, if you want to get in the tournament, you want to know what you're actually winning. So,
Yeah.
starting from fifth to eighth place, and this is if even if you get in, you are getting a minimum of 8 free play boosters of Bloomburrow, and that is coming to you. Even if you don't even have to win anything, you're automatically getting that. Eighth, seventh, sixth, and fifth are all getting walking away with 8 play boosters. Fourth is going to get a little bit more with 10 play boosters. He's going to get up there. And then we're going to get up to third place. And this is where it starts getting interesting. This is a community event. I just want to remind everyone of that. This is not Darkside sponsor or anything. This is coming out of Eric and I's coffers. We just wanted a community event put together. But we have gotten championship standard showdown Darkside League pins custom made. So third place will be walking away with 12 play boosters of Bloomburrow, plus that championship custom pin to put on your bag, your mat, wherever you want to put it. If you want to go home and frame it, if you want to make a little shrine of it, I would love that too. Send your pictures if you do that. But you are walking away with that, and you can show people, yes, I was a part of season 1 at Darkside. I was there. I kicked butt. Ooh, almost got me there, Eric. And I got third place. I don't know where this is going, so we got to keep it PG. But moving on, second place is going to be getting that second place pin, even more coveted, and 17 play boosters. Now you may be asking yourself, so what if I just win the whole thing? What if I knock down this tournament? You're going to be getting the one of first place championship league pin. You're also going to be getting an entire Bloomburrow booster box given to you. You're walking home with that. You're going to need a couple bags to carry all that home. And just so that your legacy of season 1 is known, that you were here first for season 1, you are the store league champion for standard. Your name is going to be going on the League Cup trophy that overlooks the standard play area. And this is going to be, you're going to be adding your name to that lineage of standard players coming after you in the upcoming seasons. You got anything for us, Eric, on that?
Yeah. I think it is nice that we were able to make sure that everyone who participates is getting something to reward their hard work in the season. But obviously everyone wants their name on the trophy. People want to be remembered.
Oh, yeah.
They want everyone to know, not, and in this case, not just that they won, but they did it first.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a second first league champion.
Nope.
So I think that that's the most coveted prize, though I think these pins are going to be pretty sweet too.
Pins, yeah, they are. And they cost a pretty penny, and they're definitely coming out really great. Have you seen the trophy? It is.
I have seen the trophy.
It is hefty. Standing a little over 2 feet tall. If you do come to the Darkside store, go back there and take a look at it. I mean, it's the huge trophy in the back is what you're looking for. And you're gonna.
Yeah, I don't think there's another big trophy.
I think you'll know it when you see it. And I think it has a Darkside Standard Showdown Championship on just written on it plainly. But so it is. We need to get more lights on it, like just the hallelujah moment
That'd
going
be
on.
pretty good if we could get a spotlight.
We should. But anyway,
Talk to Glenn about that.
we will. We'll have to pay a little bit over the electric bill for that. So let's go over a little bit about what's happening last Friday. Week 9 we're currently in. There was a 3-0 in this position. Zachary Meek was able to take this win. And I know you're very excited to hear that, Eric, because he did it.
Zach is so cool.
He did so with a deck that we're actually showcasing. And I'm going to let Eric take the wheel since he's so excited to go over. This is the Week 9 deck showcase. And it of course, is... Go ahead, man. Take it away.
So it's not a secret to people that know me that I adore the Magic card Monastery Mentor, which is 2 and a white for a 2/2 with prowess that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you create a 1/1 monk creature token with prowess. Now, imagine you have 4 of those. You have 4 copies of a Djinn that not only gets bigger when you cast instants and sorceries, but makes your instants and sorceries cheaper. You also have 4 four copies of Helping Hand and one copy of Recommission to get them back when they die. Um, I think that this deck is spicy. It's got everything. It's got counter spells, in terms of Phantom Interference and Three Steps Ahead. Um, it's got um some good ways of filtering through your deck in terms of Chart a Course and Sleight of Hand, and also Three Steps Ahead itself. Um, it's got some good tempo plays with cards like Into the Floodmaw to sort of remove problematic permanents. Um, and it's also got the very spicy Picklock Prankster, which can not only get you more gas for your mentors and haughty gins, but it can also put haughty gins and monastery mentors in the graveyard for you to reanimate. Um, the listing online for this deck calls it blue white reanimator, and it's hard to miss why. Um, because this deck is a normal tempo deck, but with a spicy reanimator package. Um, and Monastery Mentor on its own is a threat that has to be answered very quickly because it gets out of hand at an astonishing speed.
Oh yeah, like
Uh,
personally playing against this deck, I think one of the worst moments was I passing my turn and he goes wait instep free the Fae, and then he mills Hydrogen or he mills Mentor, and then he's like the instant sorcery he gets back is Helping Hand, so it's like oh here's my value engine, deal with it. And now I'm gonna have an 8/4 flyer that discounts everything else that I can just keep countering your stuff, and I think another key aspect of it was we've gone from Azorius control, like a hard, like this is the spectrum and this is aggro, and we've kind of like met it in the middle. Now we can actually have value spells for like value counter spells with our No More Lies or our Three Steps Ahead, or and then it just kind of fits into this perfect package of using Mentor and using Jin as well.
yeah, and I think with a lot of those control pieces being out with Kamigawa and some of those sets having rotated, I think decks like this that are a little more tempo based but aren't relying on some of the more common tools like Slickshot are going to shine more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because this deck is explosive, but I wouldn't say it's fast. In this because its threats are 3 mana, but that's fine because once they have those 3 mana threats, you don't have a lot of turns left before it kills you.
Yeah,
Um,
and
and with Mentor in particular, spot removal isn't quite as good as it is against a traditional tempo deck.
mm,
You need a board wipe because every spell he casts to get ahead is also generating more creatures.
mm-hmm. And they're all at instant speed, so he can just his counter. Oh, that's gonna build my board as well. Oh, that's also buffing my Jin. If he has Mentor and Jin out, you just need a clean, just board wipe. And a lot of decks aren't running that at this point. And I think most of the main board wipes at this point are Sunfall, which is at sorcery speed. So you're gonna pass to your turn, and it's gonna get countered because all of his counters are discounted. Or I think there's a new one is Starfall, in the it's from Bloomburrow, but it's never
Yeah,
sorcery.
Starfall Invocation.
Yes, but that's still sorcery speed. I mean, I'm struggling to think of a board wipe that would take out everything that's not in white. I mean, Brotherhood's End that deals 3 damage. That's not going to take out the Jin. I mean, it's going to take out all your
Correct.
mentors. But maybe he can prowess that up. He can do a moment of truth. Was another one? Moment of truth into something else, into a counter, and they get buffed up just enough to be able to. The Brotherhood's End doesn't do anything.
All it takes is 2 spells to make a mentor survive.
Yeah.
Um, and that may sound like a lot, but in this kind of deck, where a lot of his instant speed spells are themselves card selection,
Yep.
like that's not as hard as it sounds. And even getting those tokens, if there's a Jin in play, up can be easier than you would suspect.
Yeah.
Um, I do kind of wonder if maybe we'll start seeing some people playing Final Showdown.
I can definitely see that. Yeah. Especially not only with this deck, but also with like the prowess decks, the Gruul prowess decks. I can like just it's too much. Shut it down. It kind of
Yes,
basically like
kill those creatures.
get them out of here. You're not casting your Snakeskin Veil, or you can only cast one of your plotted slick shots, not all four of it you plotted last turn. But yeah, definitely like let's pump the brakes, and I think that will be a good sideboard piece. It definitely gets these decks and other prowess decks as well that we're dealing with.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, a lot of those board wipes are sorcery speed, but Final Showdown notably is a rare instant speed board wipe,
Yeah.
which I think will be harder for this deck to combat because it is largely trying to do a lot of things on its opponent's turn.
Right.
Um, I will also say that I kind of because you mentioned Starfall Convocation, I almost wonder if we're not going to see this deck start playing a copy of Starfall Convocation because you wipe the board, but then you get your mentor back.
Yeah, that is true, and if that is ugly, especially if you're playing against like a slick shot deck or just, I mean, we have so many tribal decks at this point. You almost kind of, I think he may need to bring that in against like as sideboard tech against these tribal decks of like, oh, you're playing Boros Mice, or you're playing Simic Frogs, or you're playing Rakdos Lizards. Oh, here's a board wipe. Get my mentor back, so I'm still getting value.
Even some of the builds of Domain running around, like, it's not a bad card to clean up all those beasts.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you
Oh,
still
yeah, this
also,
is a sick deck.
yeah, I think
What you're saying?
no, it's just I agree with you. Like Zachary Meek is a very experienced pilot when it comes to these kind of decks. With tempo, I mean, even before, way before when Toxic and was first sprouting its roots into Standard, he was testing Azoria's tempo, trying to like battle it out with the giants of like Esper mid range. He was like, how can I beat Rafine and not delve into that? How can I beat Domain? How can I beat all these? He was looking at Teamer Analyst, like, how can I out tempo Teamer Analyst when, and I was like, I think now all of those giants of Standard are out. We're kind of in this mixed bag of we don't really know what's going on. Slick shot good, slick shot good. Azoria's tempo deck may just be the key to taking away like not only the league, not only the Winnabox. We also got the Store Championship next week that people are playing for that boardless or textless Urza Saga. That is an expensive card. I know there's probably going to be a lot of people out there just coming to play Standard just for that. Because that is, and I think the top eight's like a Shark Typhoon, which is also, I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't see that much play. It's not Urza Saga, but it's still, people are going to be coming out just
Yeah,
to go ahead.
they went all out on the promos this time.
They did, but
But also to that point about Standard being kind of a, like, anything goes format right now, we're only 3 weeks away from a new set. Like,
yeah,
the pre-release for Duskmorn starts the week of the 20th, and then the next week, Duskmorn is legal in Standard.
yeah, I don't.
So we're not that far out from a whole new world.
We're not, and I I think it's great that we're pumping so much into Standard right now, especially with after Dustborn, we have Foundations coming right around the corner. I think a month and a half later. It's gonna be like the competitive season. I believe is starting in January. It's gonna be like, what sort of abominations are we gonna have coming out of it? Oh, I'm running my tribal frog deck against whatever Dustborn's gonna come up with, added with the Foundations. Oh, we have Azorius Tempo over here. We got Prowess. I mean, I think it'll be really exciting, and I hope that kind of this. I know that it's going to settle. The dust will settle after a while, but I hope to see that we still have this like super even playing field of diversity coming out everywhere. Yes, but I hope it doesn't just become top heavy deck or domain decks number one or whatever to counter domain deck, or and then we just see like the best version of a mid range deck at the top. I hope to see a little bit of spice thrown in there.
I do think Foundation is going to be an interesting piece to that too, because those are cards that are going to be in Standard for 5 years and ignoring normal rotation.
Yep.
And I think that if Wizards of the Coast is smart about it, that has a potential to keep the archetypes nice and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Give everyone tools to be able to do the kind of things they want without giving one deck too much of an edge. I've sort of missed the yearly core sets, but I do think something like this, where it is sort of a more for lack of a better word, eternal core set.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that has the potential to keep the format in a nice place, because something that I have noticed is that with rotation, there are certain archetypes that are just kind of dead in the water. Like
Right.
Control, for example, is in kind of a rough place right now.
Yeah,
Um,
and I see a lot of people kind of holding on to Control. I mean, you do see a lot of it like, oh, I want to play Control, and there's still some of it in the meta. I just don't know if it's not the monster behind the curtain that it was with Memory Delusion and
exactly.
Wandering Emperor. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, some archetypes, but I think that I, for one, like the constraint that we're having right now on certain archetypes, because it's you see people getting creative. You see stuff that you never even
100%.
thought would be like Domain just immediately jumped back. Oh, Domain's dead. Domain's dead. Get it out of here. And immediately, not even skipping a beat, they're like, oh, all the Surveil lands are great. Let's throw in Splunking. Oh, we got our deck back. So it
And who would have thought a blue-white reanimator?
and it's deadly. I cannot express this enough. I've played against this deck, and it is you're looking there like, why? How is this working? Where I can't. He knows, and Zach, being the experienced player he is, knows what to counter. And I mean, there are some hiccups here and there who have a couple bad games, but still, it's like free the Fae. Oh, I hit what I needed to hit. Here's my helping hand. Boom, 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 boom. I have counters up now. But here's my 1 mana Haughty Djinn, deal with it, and I also have mana for 2 counter spells because now my Haughty Djinn's discounting everything. So,
Yeah.
I think we have beat beat this down enough that this is a great deck. But I wanted to go a little bit into the total standings that we have right now as of week 9.
Yeah.
We've calculated the numbers for you, and here are your league standings as of the week 9. So, oh, no surprise. Zachary Meek is at the top. Look at that. With 53 points, of course, into week 9. We have a little bit of a typo there. That is actually the week 8 standings, not the week 10. Week 10 doesn't exist yet. But you're looking at week 9 and week 8 standings. Zach was able to clinch it up this past week. And before that, I think he also won just having a better opponent, or having a better win percentage based on everyone else. And I think so. He's on a 2-week streak right now. In second place, we have myself, of course. I've been switching it up from the normal 5-color human piles. Been trying some other things with Bloom Burl. Daniel, of course, is in third, and he's been playing a lot of his value decks. He's recently been stuck on Domain, and he's loving the deck, and I think that's what he's probably going to see for the rest of the competitive season. We're going to see this Domain deck from him. So, moving on, those are your top 3 forerunners, and you see there's a huge points disparity between those two. And Eric and I were talking about this before we actually started recording this session. Zach Sabo, Aaron Deckmer, Garrett, Preston. You see, there's all zeros by week 9 and week 8. They haven't shown up for a while because of the school season coming in. So it's basically just once you break this glass ceiling of 30 points between these people, the positions are wide open. So you can a new player like down, like if you're in 16th, 15th, 14th place, like if you're really low on the leaderboards, you can make your way up there by just coming in and winning a couple games here and there, because those players are basically ghosts. They're not here anymore. They're not trying, and they're not gaining points. But did you had something to speak to that, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it can be pretty daunting seeing some of these high point totals. But it is worth noting that um, 9 points is what 3 wins gets you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that hard to catch up. For example, if someone who's on 15 points wins just 3 matches, they'll jump the current 8th and 7th place winners. Additionally, some of these people will not be able to make it, so we will have alternates for our top placements in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind and don't be discouraged. Some people had really good starts early on, for whatever reason, are either no longer in the area or no longer able to make it regularly.
Right.
So just keep on chugging.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of it is like if you're one of those people where you have that competitive spirit and you're like looking at this as like, okay, I want to be at the top now. Bring your friends to standard. Not only that you will be able to farm easy wins, there I said it, but also the more rounds, the more games you get to play, the more wins you get to, the more games you get to win, the more points you get to get. Bring people in. Bring about 20 people in. We'll shut down. We'll lock the front door. We'll be there all night. We'll be playing from 7 p.m. all the way to 7 a.m. if we have to. 10 round standard coming soon to your area. I may be a little
Oh
crazy.
God!
Yeah, that doesn't
Don't let
sound.
Rick hear that.
That sounds. That doesn't sound as great as saying it out loud, but it was in my head. But goes to show, more rounds we have, the more points per week we can have. So come out, bring your friends. There's plenty of decks. I mean, Zach Meek has a couple decks. I have about 7 decks I'm willing to loan out. Daniel has a couple decks. We play standard quite a lot at Darkside. We experiment with different decks, and we have all these decks for you to borrow. If you're not already in the Discord, we can send a link for your Discord, but just, you don't have to ask what we have. We probably have almost everything in the meta at this point. Anything you could think to play of. But going back,
And a lot of things that you couldn't think to play.
yeah, if you, there's been some, I would say, trash garbage that we have put together, and we're just like, yeah, we don't know about
No,
this one, guy.
not garbage. Innovation.
Okay, creativity, and that's one of the reasons that I've been slipping. Where I've been trying to get a mono blue pile together, and I was like, it's not working. It is not working at all. It was actually funny because I play Hottie Jin in my mono blue pile, and I played against Zach, and it was like, oh, so this is what a good Hottie Jin deck looks like compared to my trash, and it's like, I have double blue pip spells that don't get discounted by Hottie Jin, so there's no point in it. Anyway, we got off a little bit of a tangent. So next week, getting back on track, next week is the store championship, like we've previously mentioned. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown. If you don't know what you want to play, oh, I'm new to standard, what should I be on the lookout for? I don't know this format. Let me tell you something. I'm going to break down the meta for you. Alright, so this is based off of MTG Goldfish on a 7-day range. So what we're looking at here is Rakdos Lizards. Is the new hot thing. It is the window shopping as you're looking by. Ooh, I want to play my 1-drops and 2-drops, and I want to ping my opponent for 1 just to piss them off a little bit. The main thing around this is Gev, I believe is the name of the legendary lizard that kind of like turns everything on.
That card's a beating.
Yeah. It basically, every lizard that comes into play gets a +1/+1 counter. It has ward, pay 2 life, I believe. It is a 3/2. It is just a house. It's like 2. It's a black and a red. It's a house. So, what do I need to beat Rakdos lizards? And it's simple. Low to the ground board wipes. So there are some like what do you call it? Buff spells. I think Scale Up is the name of the one from Blue Burl that gives it indestructible and gives it a like lifelink and gives it ++ whatever, and it costs less per lizard. Just have temporary lockdown and we can't do anything, or just have Brotherhoods in and deal 3 damage to everything, and they're done. I think there's a 4-cost lizard that they also run that's just a 3/3, but it has menace. So if you're just shutting down and have early removal for this deck, yes, it will be able to ping you, but it's not like you're going to go against like Slick Shot where they're going to deal 15 damage. It's basically like the opposite of the spectrum, where it's doing damage over time and pinging you little by little and going to kill you probably by turn 4 because of how much it's pinging you. Or you have Slick Shot over here doing all 15 damage or 20 damage in 1 turn, laughing at you, and then Fortnite emoting on your corpse, basically. But and that will bring me down to the 4th position, Gruul Prowess. What this deck is looking like is going to be Slick Shot Show Off. It's gonna there's some new additions to this deck, which I think Heartflame Hero is the 1-drop mouse. that whenever it gets targeted by any spell, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and it has a Cacophony Scamp type effect of when it dies, it deals its damage to any target. So,
Just a quick point of clarification: it is worth noting that for Heartfire Hero, it is spells you control.
oh,
So
okay.
your opponent's spells will not pump it. It is relevant if your opponent has damage-based removal. Um, but yeah, that card is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like one thing to note is also they're running the Absolute House of Card Monstrous Rage, which basically gets +2/+0, and it gets a what do you call it? A monster token or monster roll?
Monster roll token.
Yes, and so they're basically getting +3/+1 to their creature, and you may see Heartflame Hero out on the field, and you are at 5 life, and you're like, I'm gonna remove that thing, and on the stack they just cast Monstrous Rage, buff it up, and now they can deal 5 damage to your face. So same
Yeah,
thing.
it's a scary card.
It is. For this deck, I would say removal is key, or having some sort of life gain in your sideboard. Elspeth Smite is a great card for this. It deals 3 damage. It is white, but it takes out Slick Shot Show Off, which doesn't buff its toughness. It only buffs its power. So it's still going to be a 1/2 flyer. So having just know that you would need to deal with Rakdos Lizards and Gruul Prowess. So Slick Shot, and just know that they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve with targeting it. So the best course of action is to let them swing, declare no blockers, and let them try to buff up Slick Shot before you throw your removal down on it. Because if not, they may just have a Snakeskin Veil or something in their back pocket to buff it. So it's kind of a bluffing game of like, how much damage am I going to take before you actually like pull your Snakeskin Veil or pull your Hexproof or protection spell from it. Any thoughts on Gruul Prowess, Eric?
Wicked quick, wicked deadly, wicked efficient. Um, it is one of those decks that is dangerous even in times when it's not well positioned, because it can still kill you out of nowhere if you falter, even if you have a good matchup.
Right. And I think the main similarities between Rakdos Lizards and Gruul Prowess is that they are trying to kill you before turn 5. Because turn 5 is probably, this is my opinion, I would say that turn 5 is pivotal in the standard format, because that is mostly when the game is decided. Either the aggro decks are running out of gas at this point, or we are going into the domain deck where they can just cast Sunfall, or they can cast their Archangel and what do you call it? Kick it one time so it deals deals 2 damage and its life gain, and then they can stabilize at that point. Or if you're a mid-range deck, you're dropping I can never say this name, Alkalizats, the 4/4 lifelinker flyer that doesn't go away. And these are all cards to think of. Think of Slick Shot. Think of how you're going to deal with Sunfall if you're not already playing Sunfall, if you're playing a creature-based deck. Think of how, if you're playing against a mid-range deck, how am I going to deal with Deep Cavern Bat, Alkalizats? What am my game plan for these? You got, for Alkalizats in particular, it also, when it swings, discards, so it's slowly chipping away at your value, your card advantage as well. You need to have some way of exiling it.
Definitely, especially with how some of the removal packages are clunkier now. People were really relying on March of Otherworldly Light, and now that that card is gone, things are a little trickier with dealing with some of these cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a Wandering Emperor is gone as well, so that also exiled and gained you a little bit of life in the process. But we also get to see the Dimir min range is climbing up. Dimir's got Blue's got a little bit of some tools here and there, especially with Mockingbird. Mockingbird is a great card. What Mockingbird does, it's from the Bloomburl set, and it basically is blue and X, and however much mana you pay for it, it copies another creature on the field with that same CMC. So if your opponent casts an Atali, and you have a Mockingbird in hand, and you have 7 mana, you can cast an Atali from your hand as well. So it's good to know that, good to be aware of that. with Mockingbird with your creatures. If you have creatures on the field and you're playing creature-based deck and you're playing against a Dimir mid-range pile, just know that they may slam down Mockingbird and copy something on your field that's lethal. So just have that in the back of your mind when you're playing against a Dimir mid-range. They have a lot of sneaky tools, especially with they have removal. They have Tidebinder that can just counter some of your stuff. And yeah, so that is a little bit of a breakdown of everything. And there's a couple other things that I'll quickly mention in the meta. Golgari midrange is a thing as well. It's really, really deadly. I mean, it's right under that, like, fighting for that fourth position because of the combo with Innkeeper's Talent, which is 1 in a green. It's the new Bloomburl enchantments. And it basically says that whenever it has different levels to it, the first one is beginning in combat, put a +1/+1 counter on one of your creatures. Upgrading it, all your permanents have ward 1, and then the next one is I can't remember the exact wording. Of like it basically just kills you with Veraska, which is the planeswalker from All Be One with poison counters. So
Yep.
if you see that coming, just know that they are going to have a crap load of planeswalker tokens, and we're just going to kill you for that many poison tokens. Basically, it's basically GG if you don't have a way to deal with Innkeeper's Talent or you can't counter Vraska. So Get Lost hits enchantments. I know it's another white card, but hey, you got to be playing a little bit of white if you want to get in the mess with everything. Personally, I think Orzhov
White removal's really good.
Yeah, Orzhov midrange, it's a good deck. I've been playing a little bit of it. It has a lot of the keys to dealing with a lot of these meta decks. Get Lost, Temporary Lockdown, Sunfall. Basically, it has Elspeth Smite, so you can go against Prowess. It basically just has all the tools kind of shoved in there with black removal as well and some of the black value creatures. So, some other things.
Fairness, not to say that it isn't good, but you've played everything.
Yes, you've learned my secret. I have a trench coat. I have decks under my coat right now. A couple other things in the meta is
Shocker that.
yeah. Azorius Control, mono white tokens is coming up. That's a cool deck with the new white enchantment from Bloomburl. Basically, whenever a token comes in, you draw a card, so you're getting value off that.
Card is incredible.
Yes, and I am glad that Wedding Announcement is no longer a thing, because if we had Wedding Announcement and we had this, and that's just a perfect curve of like, I'm dropping my 2-drop enchantment, I'm dropping my 3-drop enchantment, I'm here to play Enchantment Tribal, and here are my tokens, and they're just getting me value. Oh, everything gets +1/+1. It's all over for you, bucko. But yes.
Only sad thing about that is it means Warren Warleader isn't running the format. I love that card.
Yeah. That is, I know that's one of the rabbits. Is that the one that gets +2/+0 for token on the field?
No, it's the one that at the beginning of combat you either make a tapped and attacking rabbit, or
yes.
Give your attackers +1/+1.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That one's another insane one. Selesnya,
It is a stick magic card.
Yeah, Selesnya rabbits are just gonna watch out for that deck as well. That's another aggro deck, and that is kind of like the same vein of the lizards, where Rakdos lizard, it will just build a board and then swing out, and you are gone if you don't have a way to deal with it. I think just having in your sideboard what you're looking for, generally having some sort of enchantment removal, having some sort of artifact removal, because we've been seeing a lot more of like Boros control lists or just mono red aggro running Urabrask Forge, and that is a sad way to go out getting beat down slowly by Urabrask Forge, I would say, if you don't have a way to deal with it. And that basically says put a counter on it at the beginning of combat, create a X, where X is the amount of counters with 1 toughness, haste, swing at you, and sacrifice that token at the end of combat. And the next turn, that's just a 1/1 swinging at me. Oh, that's just a 2/2 swinging at me. Wait a second, this is starting to hurt now. With 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and if you don't have a way to deal with it, they're also controlling it and throwing down other things as well to buff that creature. Well, what if they throw a Monstrous Rage on that Urabrask token? It's starting to get a little dicey for you now, unless you have a way to deal with that. So
it's worth noting that the token has trample too.
Yeah, you can't just block it. You have to. You can't just what do you call it? Just chip block everything. You have to or have
Yeah,
to
you
actually.
can't chump.
Yeah. So if you don't have artifact removal, you got to find a way to shove it into your deck as well.
It is a
But
sad and painful death.
it is, and I've been on the receiving end of that, and that just feels like wow. Yep, I'm here. Let's move to combat and receive my punishment. But
Indeed.
wrapping up, do you have anything to add, Eric?
Oh, we got a good league and a good group of people, and I hope that more people will make it out.
Yeah, as do I. But we will be seeing you next week. We're going to be doing a breakdown of a store championship as well. So be on the lookout for that. And please come out to Standard. You don't have to know how to play Standard. We're all friendly peeps. We'll be there to teach you how and break down. And here's your deck. And we're just excited to get new players out into the community. So I think
Keep
that,
playing cool decks, everybody.
yeah, I think that will be Eric and I signing off. Bye, guys.
Bye bye, everybody.